Welcome to Learn English with Podcast. Today, our amazing hosts, Luca and Maria, are here to take you through another exciting episode. Luca, Maria, over to you.
Ever feel like your mornings just completely implode? Like the alarm doesn't go off and you're basically sprinting out the door and breakfast is just a completely forgotten dream. By the time your day is supposed to even start, you're already behind and totally frazzled. Does that sound familiar? Because if it does, that's what we are diving into today.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to explore how you can build a really successful morning routine. And it's not like some trendy self-help thing. It's a really fundamental way you can just structure your day so that it's more organized and you're more productive. And if you happen to be learning English, think of it like you're getting a head start on your progress.
Yeah, exactly. From what we've been looking at, like what everyone's saying about this, it's super clear that when you have a really chaotic morning, that can totally derail your whole day. So today what we want to do is really unpack, why are those first few hours after you wake up so important? And we want to give you some very concrete steps that you can take so you don't feel so overwhelmed right when you wake up. We'll cover why mornings have such a big impact, what are the things that tend to trip us up, and then importantly, how can you create a better routine that actually works for you?
So let's get down to it. Why are mornings so important? It might seem like just another part of your day, but how you start your morning can actually have a big impact on everything you do afterward. You can kind of think about it like momentum.
I like that. That's a good way to think about it. Makes me think of that the first domino. If the first domino falls the right way, then all the rest of the dominoes will probably fall the right way too. But if the first domino falls the wrong way or doesn't fall at all, then it really messes everything up.
Yeah.
I know for me, when I oversleep and have to rush out the door in the morning, it feels like I'm trying to catch up the whole rest of the day.
And especially for you, if you're learning English, mornings are this great opportunity to really focus on practicing. You just woke up and your brain is rested and you're not thinking about all the stuff you have to do that day. So even taking just 5 or 10 minutes to practice your English in the morning can really make a difference over time. Studies actually show that if you study when you're relaxed and focused, you can learn new words better. And it's a lot easier to relax and focus in the quiet of the morning.
Yeah, that's so true for me. It's because you get this time when it's quiet and no one is trying to distract you. Before you start getting emails and texts and have to start paying attention to everyone else, then you can really focus on reading something in English or reviewing vocabulary words, and you're not being interrupted every 30 seconds.
But before we get into all the stuff you can do to fix your morning, I think it's good to figure out why you're having a chaotic morning in the first place. Try to think like a detective looking for clues about your own habits. What's really causing those mornings to be so crazy?
Right. I've noticed there are some pretty common things that people do. One of the biggest is just staying up too late. I think we've all been there. I know I have. You get caught up scrolling through social media or binge watching something, and suddenly it's 2 in the morning. So then you end up hitting the snooze button over and over, and when you finally get up, you feel super groggy.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing a lot of people do is just not prepare at all the night before. So you wake up and you haven't even thought about what you're going to wear that day or what you need to take with you or even what you want to eat for breakfast. So then you end up running around like a crazy person trying to find everything and stressing out more than you need to.
Oh my gosh. I used to be so bad about that. I would wake up and I would have no idea what I wanted to wear or what I wanted to eat, and I would just be running around my house trying to get out the door, and by the time I actually left, I would already be so late and so stressed out.
Yeah.
And I think for some people, maybe they try to do too much right away in the morning. They want to do a whole workout and then read all their emails and then make a big breakfast, and it ends up backfiring and they're totally overwhelmed before the day has even really begun.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the first thing you really need to do is just figure out what your biggest problem is. Is it going to bed too late? Not preparing enough, trying to do too much. Once you figure out what the problem is, then you can start working on it. If you realize that you're staying up too late, maybe try not using your phone or computer after a certain time, or try making a routine that helps you relax before bed.
Okay, so we've talked about why mornings are so important, and you started thinking about the reasons why your own mornings might be so crazy. So now let's move on to the more exciting part. How can you plan a better morning? I've heard that if you spend a little time planning the night before, it can make a huge difference.
Oh, it really can. Think about it this way. You're basically doing something nice for yourself in the future. If you take a few minutes to get organized the night before, you don't have to worry about it in the morning when you're trying to get out the door. Imagine it like an airplane that's about to take off. If the runway is clear, then the plane can take off smoothly. But if there's a bunch of stuff on the runway that needs to be moved out of the way, then the takeoff is going to be a lot more difficult.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things should you try to do the night before?
For me, I've noticed that just picking out my clothes for the next day makes a big difference. It saves me a lot of time and stops me from having a fashion crisis every morning.
That's a great place to start. You could also pack your bag the night before. Make a list of the most important things you want to get done the next day, and even get a head start on making breakfast.
Yeah.
Like if you want to eat overnight oats, you can just make those the night before, and in the morning they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Even just getting your coffee maker ready to go can make your morning a lot smoother. I've also started writing down my top 3 priorities for the next day, and that's been super helpful too. When I wake up, I already know exactly what I need to get done that day, so I don't feel so lost and confused. It's like having a little map for the beginning of your day.
Okay, now let's talk about what time you wake up. I think a lot of people get really discouraged about this because they try to make a really big change too quickly.
Oh yeah, for sure. I used to think that if I wanted to be really productive, I had to make myself wake up super early, like 5:30 in the morning. But honestly, I would just keep hitting the snooze button until the very last minute, and then I would be even more rushed and stressed.
Yeah, a lot of people have that experience. The biggest mistake is just trying to wake up way earlier than you're used to all at once. Like if you normally wake up around 7:30, it's going to be really hard to suddenly wake up at 5. You'll probably just end up hitting the snooze button and feeling frustrated.
So what would be a better way to do it?
Well, you could start by making small changes, like maybe trying to wake up 15 or 30 minutes earlier than usual. Once you get used to waking up at that time, you can try waking up a little bit earlier. Another good tip is to actually put your alarm clock across the room so you have to get out of bed to turn it off. You could also try one of those alarm clocks that gradually gets brighter, like the sun. It makes waking up feel a little more natural.
I've heard good things about those sunrise alarm clocks. And obviously another important thing to keep in mind is adjusting your bedtime too, right? If you're waking up earlier than you used to, you need to make sure you're getting to sleep earlier so you're still getting enough sleep.
Right. A good morning routine actually starts with making sure you get enough sleep the night before. And I want to talk a little bit about doing some mindfulness stuff in the morning. I know for some people that might sound a little intimidating or maybe even a little weird.
Yeah, I used to think that mindfulness meant sitting in complete silence and meditating for like an hour, which seemed impossible to do in the morning.
But it's actually a lot simpler than that. Mindfulness is really just about taking a minute to pause and be present in the moment. Even if it's just for a few minutes, think of your mind like a glass of muddy water. If you keep stirring it up, it's just going to stay muddy. But if you let it sit still for a while, eventually all the dirt will settle to the bottom and the water will become clear. So mindfulness is like letting your thoughts settle so you can start the day with a clear mind.
I really like that analogy. So what are some simple things you can do to practice mindfulness in the morning?
One thing you can do is just focus on your breathing. Sit in a comfortable position for a couple minutes and breathe in slowly for 4 seconds. Then hold your breath for 4 seconds, then slowly breathe out for 4 seconds. You could also take a few minutes to think about something you're grateful for, or maybe set a goal for the day. Like maybe you could tell yourself, today I'm going to be open to learning new things, or today I'm going to stay calm and focused.
That sounds pretty easy to do. It's kind of amazing that taking even just 1 minute to pause and be mindful could actually make the difference between feeling really stressed and overwhelmed and feeling calm and centered.
Absolutely. The next thing to think about is adding some kind of movement into your routine. I don't mean you have to do a whole intense workout first thing in the morning. Just doing some light physical activity can really help wake up your body and mind.
Right, like you're easing yourself into the day. Yeah. So what kinds of movement would you recommend?
Well, you could do some stretches to get your muscles warmed up and get your blood flowing. Or you could take a quick walk, even if it's just around your house or down the street and back. And here's an idea that's especially good if you're trying to learn English. Put on a song in English that you like and dance to it for a few minutes. It's fun, it gets you moving, and it's a good way to practice listening to English.
Oh, I love that idea. Like a 2-for-1, you get some exercise and you get to practice your English.
Exactly. And beyond just getting you energized, moving your body can actually help you remember things better and concentrate better, which can be really helpful if you're trying to learn new things. Okay, now here's something I'm really excited to talk to you about, especially if you're learning English. Try making time to practice your English every morning.
Yes, I think if you can make language learning a regular part of your morning routine, even if it's just for a few minutes, it can really pay off in the long run.
The important thing is to make sure it's something you can actually stick with and that it doesn't feel like too much. Just spending 5 to 10 minutes practicing English in the morning can make a big difference. Remember, all those little chunks of practice add up.
So what are some things you can actually do to practice English in the morning?
There's lots of stuff you can do. Like, you could listen to a podcast in English while you're making coffee or getting ready. Or you could read an article from an English news website. If you want to practice writing, you could write a quick journal entry in English about your plans for the day. And if you want to work on your speaking skills, you could just talk to yourself in the mirror in English, or try describing the things you see around you in English.
I really like the journal idea. Just writing a couple sentences in English every morning seems like a good way to practice grammar and learn new words without having to feel like you're studying.
Exactly. You just want to make it a habit, like brushing your teeth. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to do it regularly. And the last thing we need to talk about is tracking your progress and making sure your routine is actually working for you.
That's really important. How do you know if what you're doing is making a difference if you're not paying attention to your progress? It's like trying to drive somewhere without looking at a map.
Exactly. One way to track your progress is to use a habit tracker. You can actually see how many days in a row you've stuck to your routine, which can be really motivating. You could also try writing in a journal every week about which parts of your routine are working for you and which parts aren't, and then you can decide if you want to make any changes. Setting small goals for yourself, like what time you want to wake up or how long you want to practice English, can be helpful too. There are even apps you can use to track your habits and help you stay on track.
Yeah, I've actually started using one of those apps recently, and it's been super helpful. It helps me stay motivated and realize if I'm starting to slip back into bad habits.
That's great. And remember, it's okay to change things up if something isn't working for you. The most important thing is to create a morning routine that helps you have a good day and that you actually enjoy. And make sure to celebrate your successes no matter how small they seem. Like if you manage to wake up on time or you do your English practice, give yourself a pat on the back.
So to wrap things up, it sounds like even just making a few small changes to your morning routine can really improve your whole day, and that includes your English learning.
That's right. I really hope you'll think about some of the things we talked about today and try out one or two of them. You might be surprised how much of a difference it makes.
And think about this. Is there one small thing you can do tonight to make your morning tomorrow a little bit better? Maybe it's picking out your clothes or setting your alarm 15 minutes earlier. Taking that one little step tonight could be the start of a much better, more organized, and more productive day for you tomorrow. If you found this helpful and you think it might be helpful for someone you know, feel free to share it with them. And make sure to stick around. We'll be back with more deep dives like this in the future.
The alarm blares, and for a moment, the world is a blurry, unpleasant hum. You hit snooze, of course. It's almost a reflex. But what if, just what if you didn't? What if you actually got up? Picture this. You roll out of bed, not to the panic screech of a last-minute alarm, but to the soft glow of a sunrise. You stretch, a slow, deliberate movement that wakes up muscles you didn't even know were asleep. You walk to the window, and instead of the usual gray urban sprawl, you see the world waking up to. A few birds chirp, a gentle breeze rustles the leaves, and for the first time in a long time, you feel a sense of calm. This isn't some aspirational Instagram post. It's a potential reality. A productive morning routine isn't about becoming a superhuman. It's about reclaiming those precious hours before the day's chaos descends. Let's be real. Mornings are hard. We've all been there. Scrambling to find matching socks, skipping breakfast, and rushing out the door with a half-eaten granola bar. That frantic energy sets the tone for the entire day. A cascade of rushed decisions and missed opportunities. But imagine a different scenario. Instead of the frantic scramble, you start your day with a glass of water, maybe with a slice of lemon. Hydration is key. It wakes up your metabolism and gives you a gentle boost. You then take 10 minutes to meditate, just 10. You don't have to be a Zen master. Simply sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, can make a world of difference. You might find your mind wandering, replaying yesterday's awkward conversation or worrying about today's meeting. That's okay. Gently guide your attention back to your breath. The goal isn't to eliminate thoughts, but to observe them without judgment. Now let's talk about movement. You don't need a 2-hour gym session. A simple 15-minute yoga flow, or a brisk walk around the block can do wonders. It's about getting your blood flowing and your body moving. Think of it as shaking off the cobwebs of sleep. Remember that time you spent all day at a desk, feeling sluggish and mentally foggy? That's what happens when you skip movement. Even a little bit goes a long way. You could even put on some music and dance around your living room. It sounds silly, but it's a great way to release endorphins and start the day with a smile. Next up, nourishment. Breakfast. Not a sugary cereal or a hastily grabbed pastry, but something that fuels your body and mind. Think oatmeal with berries and nuts, a protein smoothie, or even a simple avocado toast. The key is to choose whole, unprocessed foods that provide sustained energy. Remember that time you crashed mid-morning after a sugary breakfast? That's your body reacting to a spike and subsequent drop in blood sugar. A balanced breakfast prevents that, keeping you focused and alert throughout the morning. You could even prep your breakfast the night before, saving yourself precious time in the morning. A simple overnight oats recipe or a pre-made smoothie bag can make all the difference. Now let's talk about planning. Take a few minutes to review your day. Write down your top 3 priorities. What are the most important tasks you need to accomplish? This helps you focus your energy and avoid getting sidetracked by less important things. Imagine you at a grocery store without a list. You wander aimlessly, buying things you don't need and forgetting the essentials. Planning your day is like creating a grocery list for your life. It keeps you on track and ensures you get what you need. You could use a physical planner, a digital app, or even just a simple notebook. The method doesn't matter as much as the act of planning itself. And finally, a little bit of learning. Read a chapter of a book, listen to a podcast, or watch a short educational video. This could be anything that sparks your curiosity and expands your knowledge. It's about feeding your mind and keeping it sharp. Remember that feeling of stagnation when you stuck in a rut, doing the same things day in and day out. Learning something new, even for just a few minutes, breaks that cycle and keeps you engaged. It doesn't have to be heavy academic reading either. A good fiction book can do wonders for your creativity. But how do you actually make this happen? Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire morning routine overnight. Choose 1 or 2 things to focus on and gradually add more as you go. For example, start with just drinking a glass of water and meditating for 5 minutes. Once you've established those habits, add in a short walk or a healthy breakfast. Consistency is key. Even on weekends, try to stick to your routine as much as possible. It doesn't have to be rigid, but maintaining some structure helps you stay on track. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. There will be days when you hit snooze, skip your workout, or grab a donut for breakfast. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just acknowledge it, learn from it, and get back on track the next day. A productive morning routine is a journey, not a destination. It's about creating habits that support your well-being and help you live a more fulfilling life. Imagine the difference. Instead of dreading the morning, you look forward to it. Instead of feeling stressed and overwhelmed, you feel calm and centered. Instead of reacting to the day's demands, you proactively shape your experience. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about creating a morning routine that works for you, a routine that sets you up for success, whatever that means to you. It's about taking back your mornings and, in turn, taking back your life.
Thank you for watching. Your journey to better English and unstoppable confidence starts here. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep growing together. See you in the next video, champion.